I know I've said this before, but I'm truly excited about today's video. If you like seeing new gear you probably haven't seen or heard of before, then you should be excited too, because today we're going to unbox and give my first impressions of the massively powerful Tonewinner AD-1PA amplifier. I'm sure you've seen amplifier videos before, but you haven't seen one quite like this. This amplifier has the ability to switch between 100 watts per channel of pure Class A power or 300 watts per channel of Class AB power. But just make sure you have a strong back for this one. I'm Barrett, this is Spec of Tech, welcome to the channel. Before we unbox this back pain in a box, let me tell you a quick story. I'd recently came up with an idea to have somewhat of a hybrid system. Yes, I do love home theater and gaming, and that's mostly what I use my setup for, but I also do love music, and when it comes to YouTubing, it is a pain to switch gear in and out of the rack constantly, or unplugging and plugging XLRs for different amps, etc. So I thought I would build a hybrid system which would solve some of my problems, and it would look really good in my opinion. So for those of you that don't really like the idea of a rack full of amps, a hybrid system like this with the processor and video equipment in the rack and amps and speaker connections outside the rack might work for you too. And just for your information, I will be selling 2 of my new Prime AMG STA amplifiers to help fund this change. Okay, so now that we know the reasoning behind this change, let's get into the unboxing. I do have 2 of these amps, but as usual, we will only unbox one just to show the process and what comes in the box. There's no need to waste your time doing that twice. All right, guys, so let's get into this box. It is a very big box. That's because the amplifier itself is actually quite big. It's also heavy, it's 93 pounds each, so make sure you have some help when you're getting into these boxes. But let's open this up and see what it all comes with and show you this absolutely stunning and massive amplifier. And they do package it quite well because it is double boxed, on top of there being a bunch of styrofoam in there. So it's very nice to see that they double box it like this. And once you get it open, you have a set of gloves, I guess, to help lift the amplifier out because some of the edges are kind of sharp. It is an aluminum chassis, so I guess that's why they put these in there, to help you not hurt your hands. Let's get some of the styrofoam out. So this is just the power cable, if I can get my fingers in there to open it up. So power cable, they also throw in a trigger, 12-volt trigger cable. I'm not sure how long that is. Looks like probably somewhere around 6 feet, but I'm not sure. But just nice for them to include a trigger cable. Let's just get that off to the side. And it's pretty warm in my house. In Canada, we're having, or I guess in Alberta anyway, we're having a bit of a heat wave. And because it doesn't get hot very often here, I don't have air conditioning in my house. So it does get a little warm. So I'm gonna get a little warm. And then you have your manual here that they include. And I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see this. Let me see if I can tip this up. But it's in a very nice, I don't know what kind of material that would be, but it's kind of shiny black, but with the nice Tonewinner logo there. Just to have it extra protected. Now, here's the hard part, guys. Getting it out of the box without destroying my back. So I'm gonna grab it. Actually, let's get this styrofoam out too. So I wouldn't try this at home. If I was you, I would make sure I get help. And you're gonna have to excuse the view here. You're gonna get my backside. All right. There's 93 pounds of back pain right there. So let's just tilt it to get this bag off. And I'm not sure how they have this tied. Oh, there we go. Easy. Get this off of there. It has some very nice feet with some somewhat soft kind of like foam rubber, but the outer side is, or the outer edges is a nice machined metal. Get the bag off. Very, very nice build quality on this amp. For the price, there's no way that you'd find better. Even spending much more money, you're not going to find a better build quality than this thing. Everything is metal, nicely machined, very clean. I believe this is aluminum on the top, a nice thick faceplate, big heat sinks along the side that again look very high quality, not a nick or a scratch. And then on the back, we do have, man, oh, living, this thing's heavy. On the back, we have some very nice binding posts for speakers A and B, I'm not sure if that's for different zones. I would imagine it is, but I'll have to look at the manual and find out. Then you got your RCAs, your XLRs, with the toggle switch for balanced to unbalanced. So let's get some more close-up footage of this thing, because it is absolutely beautiful. Oh man, guys, my back still cringes watching that unboxing. If only they made that amp with handles, it would be so much easier. And in support of my lower back, why not consider subscribing, tick the bell icon if you do, and take just one short second to hit that like button. I always do appreciate it. If you do find my videos helpful, please consider supporting the channel by joining me on Patreon. There is a link down in the description below, or you can join and become a member of the channel by clicking the join button below this video. All right, so back to the weight of this monster amp. I would recommend getting help moving and unboxing it if you plan on purchasing one of these amps. And speaking of purchasing, to make one of these beasts yours, you will need to fork out $2,875 US. That is the price at the time of this recording. For current pricing, please use the link down in the description below. At the time of this uploading, the amplifiers are available for pre-order. But for that price, I don't think you could find a better built amplifier. Just the 1200 watt toroidal transformer alone is one of the biggest I have ever seen. The AD-1PA has a build quality as if the engineers were told, cost is no object. And then they offered it at an incredibly reasonable price considering the build quality. But obviously it's not just about the build quality and the looks. Let's cover some of the basic specs of the unit. If you want to skip directly to my first impressions, use the chapter markers down below. I will go in more detail during the full review, so make sure to stay tuned for that. The unit measures 17.5 inches wide by 17.7 inches deep and 11.6 inches high and weighs in at 92 pounds. Most of that weight is a result of that massive transformer. Speaking of the transformer, it does have separate windings for each channel to help reduce crosstalk. The unit puts out 300 watts per channel into 8 ohms in Class AB mode and 100 watts per channel into Class A mode. There is a button on the front to switch between modes, or you can leave it in auto mode and it will automatically switch between Class A and AB when needed. There's also a button to switch between the binding posts on the back of the unit. There are 2 sets of binding posts or 4 binding posts for each channel, which can be powered simultaneously, or you can switch between A side and B side using that button on the front. Now, an obvious use for these would be to bi-wire your speakers, and you could even use 2 completely separate sets of speaker cables to do it. Another use, well, at least for me personally, would be to switch between 2 different sets of speakers incredibly quickly for comparing them. And the third use can be for separate zone of speakers with the ability to switch between them or have all of them outputting at the same time with the push of a button. I can't say 100% whether these are the official uses for them. Like I said, these are just quick specs. I will cover it in more detail during the review and once I get more of my questions answered from the distributor. The back of the unit does have balanced XLR outputs for each channel, along with unbalanced RCA outputs for each channel as well, with a toggle switch to switch between them. And then there are the 4 sets of what appear to be high quality binding posts, which we already discussed, and a trigger in and out for daisy chaining, allowing you to run one trigger from the processor into 1 amp, and then run another 12 volt trigger cable from the first amp to the second. Other than that, you just have the power cable port and that's it. The top of the unit has venting to help dissipate heat. The large heat sinks on either side of the unit also help with that. The outside of the unit is all solid metal and is one of the best built amplifiers out there in my opinion. The internals also look to follow that trend, so I removed the top of one of these units so we could all have a look inside. As you can see, the transformer is bigger than my hand. You also have 180,000 UF worth of capacitors. That is a lot of capacity. I don't think it's really hard to decipher that my first impressions on the build quality are glowing. There is nothing I can fault this amplifier on when it comes to the build quality, but I do want you to keep in mind that Class A power does give off quite a bit of heat. Class AB does give off heat as well, but not quite as much. This is not a Class D amplifier, so just make sure to keep that in mind. It isn't the fault of the amplifier, it's just the facts of the topology. Moving on to my first impressions on sound quality, I haven't heard anything that I don't like. I do believe I heard a slight improvement in transients over the New Prime Class D amp I was using before. Not that the New Prime amps were bad, I actually thought they were incredibly good. but I do hear a slight improvement with the AD-1PA. Sound does seem effortless, clarity is top notch, even when pairing it with the Polk R200 bookshelf speakers. Maybe it's the amplifier, maybe it's the Polk R200s, or maybe it's both, but that combination has me questioning whether more expensive speakers are even worth it. To sum up my first impressions, I'll say this. I don't think even the most discerning audiophile could find fault in this amplifier. The sound is impeccable and the build quality is so well done, you would think the amplifier costs $5,000 to $10,000. If you are in the market for a 2-channel hi-fi amplifier, I highly suggest you give the Tonewinner AD-1PA a good hard look. It's priced right, it has the build quality and the sound quality to knock your socks off, so stay tuned for the full review. To do that, make sure you subscribe, tick the bell icon if you do. Please take just one short second to hit that like button. I always do appreciate it. Remember to enjoy your systems. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.